All right, well, I can't find a way to change the title from Chris's sculpting thing earlier today, but it is what it is. I'm just here to. I'm gonna paint tonight on some calves, and I thought, why wouldn't I just turn the streaming stuff on? I'm standing right next to it anyway, and if anybody has time, they do, and if they don't, then I'm just listening to the channel's music and doing stuff myself. So, there it is. If I happen, if you say something and I don't notice, it's not because I'm ignoring you, it's because I don't think there's anybody here and I'm just painting away. That's my story and I'm sticking to it. Alright. Yeah, this is the part these are not my favorite models. Definitely a compromise on my part to put these in my force. They do things I need. And their stats are great, but I'm just not, they're parts of the design that are just not with it for me. Just don't do it for me. And then I've been very indecisive about how I want to highlight these guys, and it's just not been my, this has not been my favorite set of models to paint, which is on me, not on the models. I mean, the sculpts are solid, but just don't do it for me. This purple I picked out it's really a lot thinner than I gave it credit for. But you never know. You never know. Hey, somebody showed up and said something. Oh my gosh, Dave, how you doing? Yeah, just like I said, I was gonna paint anyway. So I should probably go in and act like I am really doing things. I need to change the settings so the zoom is worth looking at. I'm a terrible person. Actually, that's fine. And I need to move this so I can actually see. Bear with me a minute. Sorry. It's probably the right spot right there. Come over here. Everything's good. Wait a minute. Nope. One more setting over here. Apply. Okay. Done. Dave, I'm glad you do, because, man, I am struggling with this scheme. I was happy with the yellow. I liked the yellow from the get-go, and then I couldn't decide where to put the purple, and then I put the purple down, and I couldn't decide what way to paint purple, whether it was oils or acrylics or whatever, and, man, I hope they turn out well, but they have been in that... All right. To me... Every model I paint, I don't know if this is true for anybody else but me, but every model I paint has this stage where it's just, I regret my choices and I hate it, and I think it's the ugliest thing in the world. And this whole set of models has been there for a very long time. But I'm just going to keep painting because A, I have a deadline, and B, I don't have any other options. There's no fallback plan except paint, so keep pushing forward. So I'm grinding. But thank you very much. I appreciate it. I appreciate the support. It makes me feel a little bit better. Yeah, Dave, it's true. So I think part of my problem was I didn't paint a test model in this scheme. I've never painted this scheme before. This is just something I made up off the cuff, and so I don't really know what the end game is for these models. And because of that, and I'm just painting 12 of them at once. I've been in this is terrible mode for weeks. Whereas if I had painted up a test model to the point where I liked it, I would have been like, oh yeah, this works. I'll just keep pushing. This will work eventually. But it ain't there. So yeah, thanks for stopping by. I guess you must have got a notification from somewhere, I'm assuming, because this is definitely just impromptu stuff. I say this completely in jest, but there'll be none of that high-tech stuff that we do on Mondays. This is just painting. High-tech. None of the weekly show's production values here. Laugh. Joke. So my wife and I, Allison, have we've been playtesting the CAV-ball scenario. We played it a couple of times now, tweaking the rules and realizing, hey, there are things here that aren't working quite right, but having a good time. She's a miniature gamer, not really a CAV player, but she's enjoying it, which is promising to me. The last time we played, we made a rule where the turrets guarding the goals, the strength of their particle bolt guns went up every turn. And it got to the point where they were just one-shotting recon, like, calves off the table as they tried to come in and score. So we decided that was it had probably gotten out of hand. At the same time, I've been learning a lot about Overwatch, which is an action, a pair of actions, I guess you can take in CAV that I never really read deeply into the rules. And so in CAV ball, the turrets that are guarding the goal are in Overwatch most of the game. And so I've been learning what that really means and how powerful that can be. Overwatch breaks some of the fundamental tenets of the game that I didn't understand that. So, for instance, normally when a model in CAV is damaged, the damage doesn't take effect until the end of the model's the currently activating model's activation. So, if my tank shoots your CAV doesn't actually suffer any damage until the end of my tank's turn. Hold on a second. Well, Overwatch doesn't work that way. When a model in Overwatch fires, it stops the currently activating model at any point in time during its activation, and fires, does damage, if any, and that damage applies immediately. So if I understand it correctly, if you get knocked down by a model firing at you in Overwatch, you're just done. I mean, you declared your actions at the beginning of the turn, right? So let's say I declared move. And so as soon as I start to move, you, the overwatching model, stop me and shoot me. And suddenly I get knocked down. My turn's over because none of my actions were stand up. Because at the beginning of the turn, I didn't need to stand up. Anyway, it's very interesting. CAV is definitely a deeper game than I really understand. There's a little bit more to it than meets the eye. The problem is, not a problem really, but when I play CAV, most of the time, it's, we're teaching new people how to play, right? Or we're playing with, including myself, kind of inexperienced players, right? And we're just playing with a limited set of the rules. I mean, the few, what I would call sort of advanced games have always been tournament games. And so, they're using a much, a very small slice of the rule set. And, people are playing to win, so they're not taking a lot of chances. And, it's just a lot of things that are happening that are kind of simplifying the game. And So there's a lot to it. There's a lot to this game that I still have to discover, which is cool. I like that. Man. Just keep soldiering on. Now I'm going to turn this. That's interesting. Where'd that come from? Oh well. So I'm listening to music and painting miniatures. Pretty common. It's funny how the songs. So this music service that John subscribes to has royalty-free songs, and so I just went through and picked a bunch of them that I kind of like the sound of, and threw them in a playlist so I could play it during streams. And it's interesting to me how similar some of them are to songs that I recognize. So like this particular song, when it comes on, parts of it remind me of Total Eclipse of the Heart by Bonnie Tyler, I think. Anyway, it starts out and I'm like, oh yeah, we're going to hear Bonnie Tyler's voice. No, there's no Bonnie Tyler here. Okay, so we won't be hearing Bonnie Tyler, which is, fine. Just, the sort of things that I think about when I'm painting quietly. I'm going to turn the fan on. There's nobody here but me, so you're going to listen to the fan. Sorry. Hopefully that's not too bad. If it is, say something. If not, then, like I said, nobody else is here but me, so. Gosh, this paint is just blah. Oh my god, I hate those models. At least tonight I do. Yeah, I'm not going to bother with that. These guys need a little touch-up. Excuse me. This is ridiculous. This wet palette is fucking useless. Sorry, I shouldn't say bad words on stream. It's a bad thing. I tell you what, this wet palette is driving me insane. It's a waste of time. Put it up. Do something different. Excuse me. This is pretty watery paint right out of the bottle. Pretty watery right out of the bottle. trees. There's definitely something going on here with the colors appear. Well, it's just on my screen. I don't care. I'm just here having fun. I'm not playing with the stream. Just have the stream on because I'm painting and I'm standing right next to the streaming stuff. So nothing else is going on. I might as well. It's taken several coats, but this purple, I mean, I like the quality, the color of this purple. It's just pretty thin, so it's taken me a while to get it to cover up. That's okay. Just delays. Just puts off the time of me actually having to try and make something out of it, like with a highlight, which is something I kind of struggle with. I usually paint down to shadows rather than up to highlights, and it's going to be interesting trying to, you know, do this. It'll be alright. I mean, in the end, just painting up some miniatures. Getting in my reps. Hey! Good huntsman. Yeah, so that looks blue to you, right? That's what I was afraid of. Let me go and tinker with the camera because I think it's not doing its job. This is really a purple. It's not a blue. I started to do a blue. I probably should have done a blue, but... Alright, how do I fix this? Saturation? I mean, the yellows are about right. No, I don't think it's saturation. Of course. Yeah, it's something to do with my setting. I think that's closer to right. I changed the white balance a little bit. Let's just go with that. Thanks for dropping by. I'm not talking much because, you know, I'm just really just hanging out painting and not knowing if anybody's in chat. But yeah, thanks for dropping by. I figured I got to put on some... I got to stand here and paint anyway, so I might as well throw this silly camera on. Yeah, you know, Huntsman, it's really too bad. This Logitech webcam that I have is, I don't know, it doesn't. Its control software is pretty primitive. Has no settings. You can't make it remember anything. You have to change it every time you turn it on or off. But you know, it is what it is. I am not here for the monies, or whatever words I should put there. Definitely just here to, you know, do my thing, hang out, paint miniatures. Weather was spectacular in Oklahoma today, at least in my part of Oklahoma. Nice and warm, not too much wind. Wife and I went out and played some disc golf. Had my best round ever. Pretty good day. Pretty good day. Now if I could just get these dumb miniatures to cooperate. Do, do, do. Grief, I guess I just have to leave that alone. It's not dry yet. It's taken me like 3 coats of paint to get this purple to actually be purple. And then I'm going to have to go in and, after I get it all to be a good solid purple, I'm going to have to go back and highlight it, which is, you know, going to be fun. Nerf War. That sounds like a lot of fun. I mean, sort of like paintball stuff, but without all the messy, oopy goopy paintballs, I hope. Never did paintball, but people like it. I hear. Nerf War must be something similar, right? I need to let that nose dry before I try and put any more on there. One more time around this guy. Yeah, okay. I mean, I imagine that all that Nerf ammo has some cost to it. It's probably worth picking back up, I suppose. I don't know. Nerf, obviously I'm an old guy, so Nerf wasn't a thing when I was a kid, but man, I think that would have been up my alley. I would have liked that so much. Every once in a while I see a Nerf thing at a yard sale and I'm tempted to pick it up, and I'm just like, oh, that's just something I don't need, that I'll end up donating to the Howe Foundation or the Goodwill or something like that at some point. So I try my best not to buy that stuff when I can. But yeah, so my wife and I have recently, just like within the last 3 or 4 months, discovered a love for disc golf. It's exercise, and you know, it's a little competitive. It's sort of like bowling, but you don't need to share shoes or buy weird shoes. And when I say it's like bowling, it, you know, in the sense that, you know, you get exercise and you get to go out and do something. It's a little competitive. She and I can play together, have a good time. Gives us an hour or so walking around, chasing discs. Yeah, I guess so. They have like a course or something down there you play at. You said you had a Nerf war down in Houston. Was that spontaneous, like in the middle of a park, or is there a place you go to do that? Can look over these pieces one more time. All right. Yeah, that's cool. Some of those Nerf guns look pretty fun. You know, the big. And I don't know if they're. I don't know how any of that stuff works. Like I said, I've never owned one, but I mean, they look like a lot of fun. You know, the big rotary gun-looking Nerf gun things. I feel like that Nerf war thing you're describing is probably a hoot. Probably a lot of fun. A dad squad. That seems like a lot of fun. Yeah. Yeah, it seems like a hoot. I feel the same way about the disc golf group. I mean, you know, obviously in the pandemic, it's just me and my wife playing 99% of the time. Once in a blue moon, a third person will join us. But we see other people playing, and they're all friendly and happy to, just be polite on the course and help you out. And when we play at a new course we don't know, they'll point you in the right direction. It's a nice community. Seems to get along better than me in this dumb purple. Oh my gosh. This is not my favorite color. In the future, all of my paint schemes will feature the airbrush completely. I'm going to try. Just using a brush I'm so bad at it, it's ridiculous. I have no patience for it, and I know when it comes time to try and put in these highlights, it's going to be difficult because I'm not good at blending highlights. Oh well. I don't know how people like Ross do it. They're just so good at this stuff. It's crazy. He was sharing photos today in our group chat, and it's just like, God, I hate you. I mean, I love him, but I hate him. He's so stinking good at painting. It's ridiculous. Yeah. I could see getting into. I mean, it would give me an excuse to buy some of that silly Nerf stuff. So, I mean, it's probably a good thing I'm not around there, because then I would just buy stuff I don't really need. Interesting. So, I mean, modify them, you like tinker with the gearing, or, I mean, those things are battery powered? I don't, honestly, I've never had one, so I don't really know how a Nerf gun works that isn't just pull, like you squeezing the trigger generates some sort of air pressure that shoots out a Nerf thingy. That's all I know about them. Probably don't even know that right. Spring pistons. Okay. Yeah, I thought probably there were some engineering types in that group that sounded like their cup of tea. But yeah, I had a pretty good day today. I hung out with my dad for a while and took him to run his errands, and I don't know. It was a beautiful day, so it was nice to be out. Lots of people moving about. Most of them being, cautious, conscientious, wearing their masks, I would say. Girl Scouts out selling cookies. All in all, a pretty good day compared to the freezing temperatures we had a week or two ago. Much better. gosh, this is... Yeah, Huntsman. There are some really good painters out there. People that are good at both volume and quality. I mean I talk all the time about Ross and Todd because I interact with them reasonably often. But man, there are plenty of other people. One of the people that I think that is supposed to stream during CAV-CON is Mr. James Wapple, which I have watched many times, and I've talked about him on our streams many times. I cannot wait to see what he does with calves. That guy is he's like a wizard with paint. I don't know how to explain it. I admire what he does, and I find it incredibly intimidating because he just makes things so... He does them so effortlessly. I'm just excited as all hell to see what he does with calves. I mean, I know he's painted some of them before, but I've not really seen them other than the broadsword. He painted that broadsword that John has, the physical broadsword. But I think that was sort of at a convention, hey, can you do this for me real quick sort of thing. I don't think he really put a lot of time and effort into it the way he can. And so, I mean, it looks great, but it's not his best work. And I'm real curious to see what he does when he, takes an entire stream to paint nothing but calves. That should be fascinating. At least I think that's the plan. That he's going to paint calves for his whole stream. I could be wrong. Been wrong before. Oh, you mean the broadsword? Yeah. The broadsword's is definitely a good-looking model. I prefer it I prefer it to the Badger. I'm excited to get the Badger. Don't get me wrong. It's like, which do you prefer? Like, I don't know, a good steak or a really good steak. Yeah, they're both solid. I will take them both. In their time, or whatever food you like. But yeah, that broadsword is very nice, and James did a good job on it. Don't get me wrong. I'm not besmirching it. I've seen him do. Oh my gosh, the guy just blows me away. I don't even know how to describe it. I hope one day we can all get our hands on a broadsword. I hope it works out. John's just been trying to find the right way to get it to market. Tweaking it just so that it works out right, and then of course it's got to be received properly. So there's a lot to it, right? It's not like throwing out a $8 cab. It's like maybe people didn't like this one, so we took a little bit of a hit. Now the broadsword's a chunk, so John's just taking his time doing it right. At least that's my impression. All right. A little bit more down there. Time to do something different. This is one way to find out. So I don't do it, Huntsman. The really old miniatures, the white ones that you can occasionally still find from early on in strike operations production, are similar to the early Reaper models, and I've always heard that it's important to wash those, but generally speaking, I don't wash. Yeah, that's the material the early Reaper things were made out of. The early calves were not. It's not bones. It's something similar. There's a million variables you can use when you create that material. And John's material isn't the same thing as what Reaper used, but they were similar, I think. And so maybe washing those is a good idea. But none of them. I mean, I haven't washed a CAV model. I'm trying to think. I don't think I've ever washed a CAV model now that I think about it. And I've not really had any problems with it in terms of the paint sticking. I don't think it would hurt anything. I mean, if you wanted to do that, certainly nothing wrong with it. But I don't think it's required. I've never had a problem with it. But maybe people have. I mean, there's a lot more CAV models than I've ever painted. So maybe somebody's encountered something where that was a valuable thing to do. I'm not sure. I think that's just wasting my time trying to highlight those little tiny bits of stuff over there. So I'm just gonna concentrate on these guys. That being said, Huntsman, I mean, I guess it might depend on it might depend on how you're primering them. So, I mean, I airbrush everything I primer, and so the airbrush is a very powerful tool for primering, especially primering. And so that may have some impact on my experience. Maybe if I was trying to brush that primer on, there might be a different result. I don't know. I'm not sure, but so in my experience, no, it's not necessary at all. But caveat emptor, let the buyer beware. Maybe I should just go straight to this pink. Let it go right over the top of this purple and see what happens. I'm definitely regretting my choices with this purple. So regretting my choices with this purple. Yeah, well, I mean, there's always rattle cans, right? I mean, there are people who achieve really good results with rattle can primers. I think some of my favorite painters, people that are super talented with the airbrush, way beyond me, oftentimes will still rattle can their models. Just I don't know, maybe it's because that's their background, or I mean, obviously they achieve fantastic results with it, but yeah, I mean, a good rattle can will do a lot of what an airbrush will do, just kind of differently. You just have to understand the nature of your tool. I think you're a lot more dependent on the weather with a rattle can. I'm not sure I've ever brushed on primer. I'm trying to, no, it was either rattle can or eventually, after I picked up an airbrush, it was airbrush for me. So, definitely not my area of expertise in terms of brushing on primer. Yeah, with a rattle can, you just, I would definitely always, before I primered anything I cared about with a rattle can, I don't know, primer some kids' toys I bought at the, like a yard sale or something plastic with a similar, something that's going to behave similar, or some junk miniatures if you have such a thing. I don't know, coffee can that's made out of plastic, just to see how the rattle can's going to perform. But yeah, I mean, for the longest time, I painted with a rattle can. I mean, I'm no great painter, but rattle cans are perfectly serviceable. You can do zenithal highlighting and all kinds of things with a rattle can. It's completely doable. Gosh, I'm just really, really, really unhappy with this purple. I mean, just blisteringly unhappy with this purple. Alright, well, I need to fall back and gather my thoughts and decide what I want to do about these models. They're not, I'm not digging them. So, I wonder how long it would take me to simple green them and start over again. Well, thank you very much, Mr. Huntsman. You know, I give myself a C. I'm maybe slightly above average, I think, personally. But, you know, it's you know, it's just a hobby with me. Not something I'm trying to, you know, win awards with or anything. Just I like to make myself happy. And boy, I tell you right now, man, these models are just, I have not had this much of a funk about. You know, honestly, I liked it better. You know, so I painted all these purple bits. I painted them all white first before I painted them purple. I liked them better white. I think they would have been better as a white model. Hang on a second, if you don't mind. I'm going to run downstairs. I've got a model in kind of a similar yellow and white I want to show you to get your opinion on. I don't know. Maybe it's not too late for me to go back and paint white over the purple. I mean, why not paint the same piece of plastic 70 times? Hang on a second. I'll be back in about a minute. Huntsman, you still there? Sorry it took me so long to get back upstairs. Okay. So here's a 40K model I painted a while back. That I kind of had this yellow in mind when I started painting these guys, but it ended up being a lot paler. This guy came out all right. I like the contrast between the blue and the yellow. This purple is just not doing it for me. I can't get it to. Maybe it's because it's such a tiny space, or I just didn't use enough of it. But here's this Monpac model I painted. That's got a yellow with a lot of really sharp edge, just straight white edge highlighting. I kind of wish I'd gone this route instead of trying to paint this stupid purple. I think this would have been so much better. But anyway, it is what it is now. I don't know what I'm going to do. It's kind of, I've only got a couple of weeks to finish these guys, and I have other models. I have the CAV ball models I've still got to paint. But this purple is definitely going away. I cannot stand it. And, you know, it's just driving me crazy trying to paint it. Oh, Lord. It's been a long time since I've been in this big a funk about painting. Anyway. Yeah, man. Yeah. So this guy right here, he's, I think he came out pretty solid. This is a game I didn't end up actually playing. It's only painted like a handful of models, but I was really relatively happy with the way this guy came out. It obviously it fits the giant kaiju style of, like doing things anyway, but I probably should have leaned into this. I don't know. At this point in time, I'm just not sure how to recover these, get these models to get this purple off of them. Ugh. I mean, I guess I could take my airbrush out and try and, I don't know, maybe just try and take them back to a yellow, maybe paint, go back a little bit darker, kind of like this guy is. The same basic principle here with these layered up yellows. But anyway, something's got to give because... So the only other thing I thought of doing was, it would work with the poltergeist. I could just come in and I could just tape off this part and tape off this part and just airbrush this purple right down the center. And I'm sure with the airbrush I could get some effects that I'd be interested in. And then I'd still have purple and yellow, and it wouldn't be crazy. But the problem with that is, how do I do something similar with this guy, right? So I mean, I've done all this work to do this cockpit glass, which I mean I could redo it, I guess, or I could try and mask it off and paint it, without getting, without ruining it. I don't know. Blah, 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 blah. First world problems, right? First world problems. And these razors are the worst. It's not my favorite model, and I don't know. Just this purple on them is a complete failure on my part. So I'm not sure what I'm going to do, but I'm going to give it some thought. I'm not going to do anything hasty. Yeah, and that's something that Todd Farnholt suggested to me a long time ago. I mean, a couple of weeks ago, was when you can't figure out where to put like a contrasting color, just paint a stripe of it. And I mean, it works really well for the poltergeists. Although, to be honest with you, I'm really happy. I kind of like the yellow on the poltergeist turret, but yeah, whatever. The problem is, how do I paint a stripe here, right? I mean, these guys are, there's a lot of width here, right? There's a lot of busyness right here. So, I mean, do I paint this whole thing purple? That seems like too much. And then I've got this, do I bring this all the way down through here? I don't know. These don't lend themselves to that striping idea as well. So then what else could I do? I guess what I could do is I could just come in and sort of do the opposite. I could just take I could paint like this area purple. I don't know. I think I'm just going to give up on the purple. I'm going to find a way to take these things back to yellow and just get rid of this purple. This purple is my worst idea ever. So what I'm going to do, though, is I'm going to exercise a little bit of wisdom. Is I'm going to take a break. I'm going to walk away. I'm going to go do something else for a little while, just to clear my mind. And then I'm going to come back up here and possibly not even tonight, possibly tomorrow, but come back up here and get out. And whatever I decide to do, that's what I'm going to try and do. But instead of, right now I'm very frustrated with them, and so instead of acting in frustration and maybe putting myself in a worse place than I already am in terms of, like trying to get these models finished, I think what I'll do is, like I said, I'll take a little break, just go do something to cleanse my palette, see if I can come up with a better idea, and then come back up here and see if I can find some way to get to a spot that I like. I don't know. Maybe taking them in, like just leaning into the yellow, maybe even a little bit of yellow brown, might not be a bad idea. I have to be careful though. Hold on, because I've got this Almirethal force that I painted up. This is a Kodiak I was working on for those guys. To be honest with you, I probably should have brought him up a little bit higher out of this brown. He's a little browner than he really should be. But I don't want these guys to become another version of these, because, I mean, they're literally different factions. So if I, so this guy kind of leans into orangey brown, whereas this guy is more orangey yellow. I think I'm gonna try and go this direction with these guys. So what I'll do is I'm just gonna come in with the airbrush and try and be really precise and try and just erase all this purple that I've done. And then once I see how that comes out, then I can decide which direction to press into. Should I, I mean, at that point in time, they might just have to go in the bucket of simple green and get stripped and start over. And that may be the best choice. I mean, I could, if I could get these guys back to plastic, I could primer them again tomorrow and then come back in, and I could put this yellow back on them probably Monday, Tuesday, and then just not do this this crazy purple color, which I blame Tiger Wraith for this. And I say that playfully because when I first posted the yellow part of this, he said they look more A to E's than Malvernus to me. Where's the purple? And I was like, oh yeah, you're right. They probably should have some purple in them. But that was a bad mistake. So, going to go take a break. I'm going to sign off here in just a couple of minutes. Take a break. Have an adult beverage. Probably a cider of some kind. And visit with my wife, get her opinion, because she's she's a painter. She's painted for quite a while. See what she thinks, and take some action. So wish me luck, because I'm going to need it. My gosh, I may end up having to hire somebody to paint my models for me. I probably should have listened to you. I think the blue would have been better. And initially I pulled out this Huldra blue, which is kind of a darkish blue, but I think the problem here is the application. So to me, this is kind of what I call like Space Marine painting, right? So, you pick out some bits on the Space Marine to make an a different color, like a shoulder pad or a helmet or the gun, or pardon my dog barking downstairs. But that looks good because it's on a bigger model. These are such tiny models, it just doesn't work. So what I probably should have done is either went with a solid color with some extreme edge highlighting like my Kaiju, or went with some sort of a split scheme, kind of like this guy. This is mostly what I paint in CAV anyways. I end up painting some sort of split scheme. But anyway, yeah, kind of like this guy. He's a split scheme. That's just what I like to do. The airbrush lends itself to it. I need to touch this guy up with the airbrush while I'm at it. He needs more yellow. So yeah, that's what I'm going to do. Me and the airbrush are going to try and do some work. Possibly later tonight, if not, certainly tomorrow. Huntsman, I think you're full of good ideas. And again, that's why I'm gonna walk away for a little while. I'm not gonna strip anything right this second. Give it some thought. Give it some thought. All right. Well, thanks for hanging out with me, Huntsman. And Dave earlier, I don't know who all's around. Dave stopped by earlier and chatted with me for a few minutes. I appreciate you guys hanging out with me. Like I said, I was going to paint, or let me back up. Let me be honest. I was going to come up here and be frustrated. Anyway, so I thought I might as well share it with anybody who wanted to show up. Yeah, me too, Huntsman. God forbid. I mean, John literally mailed me the CAV ball teams today that I've got to get painted up for the CAV ball demo during Virtual ReaperCon. Now, those guys, I've learned my lesson. They are 90% of that work is going to be done with the airbrush and some washes, and then a little bit more airbrush and cockpits and maybe some numbers or something like that. Misery Loves Company. Well, thank you for hanging out with me, Gunsman, because gosh, I'm not in a bad mood. I had a fantastic day. I'm just really struggling with this thing that's frustrating me, and it's this darn purple. So time to erase the purple. Yeah, so I'm going to sign off now. Obviously, I'll be back on Monday. That'll be your next chance to see how much misery I've delved into. If I don't show up, you know that probably what happened is I got super frustrated, and I just sold all the miniatures I own, and I decided to just become a professional disc golfer. Which, by the way, I would starve doing that. I'm not even a bad disc golfer yet. Yeah, but I'll be back on Monday, and you can see. If you have time to show up, you can see what I decided to do with this. Thanks for your advice, man. I appreciate it. I'm going to sign off, and I will talk to you later. Have a good evening, and I hope everything is very peaceful where you are. Take care. Bye.